Now let's return to our top story. Prosecutors in the U.S. state of Georgia have charged Donald Trump and 18 others with attempting to overturn his 2020 election loss. Now, for more on this, we'll be speaking with Arise correspondent Rotimi Kade, who is in New Jersey. So can you tell us more about the charges against former U.S. President Donald Trump, the ones he's facing in Georgia?
Well, former President Donald Trump was indicted last night for the fourth time. Once again, always attempt to stay in power after he lost the 2020 elections. And the indictment contained some of the most sweeping allegations against President Trump yet. And it accuses him and some former top advisors of organizing a criminal enterprise to actually reverse the election results in Georgia when the grand jury ended up the indictment, as you can see right there on your screen. But the document cites 8 ways in which President Trump and 18 other defendants allegedly obstructed the elections, amongst them lying to the Georgia legislature and, of course, the state officials, and also creating what they call the fake pro-slate, Trump slate for the electoral bodies, which means that former President Trump and some of his allies actually created a fake slate presented to the Georgia's electoral body, what they call the Electoral College, misrepresenting what actually happened in the election, and also harassing election workers, engaging also in a cover-up. And the 18 others indicted include former presidents, Trump's chief of staff, Mark Meadows, former counsel Rudy Giuliani, Sidney Powell, and John Eastman. All of them, according to the prosecutor, would be prosecuted together. That's the 19 of them, including President Trump.
Duly noted, Rotimi. Now, of course, you mentioned that these are the most sweeping allegations against former President Trump so far, and that there will be a prosecution of the 19 people, including him. Just wondering what happens next in this process.
Well, some analysts actually said that this is going to be the most egregious indictment yet. If you recall that he's been indicted 3 times in the space of about 2 years. I remember the Stormy Daniels, remember the Mar-a-Lago White House papers. You also remember the recent one, the special counsel, which of course Jack, who of course indicted him also. So this is going to be the most, and why this is going to be the most egregious is the fact that this has to do with the elections, conspiracies, and all of that. So in Georgia, the indictment's actually built around the state's RICO law, short for the Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organizations. This type of law primarily targets organized crimes in the states. Now, in Trump's case, prosecutors argue that he and his co-conspirators or supporters engage in a wide-ranging conspiracy with more than 160 acts aimed at keeping him in power. And now in RICO law allows the prosecutor to actually go after the head of that organization, which in this time is President Trump, loosely defined though, without any having, to prove that the head directly engaged in a conspiracy or any act that actually violates the state's law. So as it were, right now, it's going to be a very uphill climb for President Trump to actually go through, because this is one of the most anticipated indictment yet. If you recall, back in 2020, before the certification of President Biden's election as president in Congress, President Trump actually asked the state's Secretary of State in Georgia to actually find him about 12,000 votes. And that is on record, and that's going to be used.
All right, then. Rotimi, can you tell us what the reaction has been since the charges were announced?
Well, I think the country has been divided essentially because Republicans were saying that this is yet another indictment, this is yet another witch hunt on the part of the Democrats, trying to hunt down the former president for contesting in 2024, or perhaps, whittle down his popularity so that going into the elections, he will definitely not be able to pull any strings, and perhaps maybe the Democrats will have an edge. That has always been the narrative from the Republican senators and most of the Republican bigwigs. But also we have some other Republicans who feel that this is one too many. Some call it indictment fatigue, and that the president needs to step down if need be, so that it should give other people the opportunity to actually go into the 2024 elections and help the Republicans gain the White House. So, but on the other side of the Democrats are looking at they're more or less in a happy mood because this is yet another one that could actually ruin the former president's chances of contesting in 2024, much less getting into the White House again.
Well, Rotimi, you mentioned that based on this, the Democrats might have an edge based on what's playing out, and there's consideration that maybe he should step aside for another. But how realistic is this when you consider the character of former President Donald Trump?
Well, Donald Trump is not going to back down because we know that he's almost like a cat within 9 lives. With all the indictments, with all the allegations against him, he's gaining more momentum in the Republican Party, even though the Republican Party has been a little bit more divided in recent times because you've seen a lot of contestants coming out against the former president. But the more you attack him, the more it gets more vicious in his attacks against all his supposed foes and enemies. At this point, when you look at the polls in the Republican Party, you see that President Trump is leading with over 20 points against his closest rival, which is the Florida governor, who also has been making so many gaffes so far in the elections. And but it's going to take a whole lot to make President Trump to actually back down or step aside going forward. But this time around, as indictment in Georgia, as stipulated in the document that was submitted yesterday, it shows that the president most likely are going to have a long prosecution, even going into the primaries, and perhaps even if he wins the elections, going into election, because this is not going to just be a wash in the pan. It's going to be something that is going to be more thorough, because you have in total is 41 charges against the 19 people that are involved, including the president. So they're going to be questioned, they're going to be interrogated all together, and that is going to cause much more a lot of more weight on the president going into the elections.
Yes, definitely. And the U.S. presidential elections are just around the corner. 2024 is just here. Thank you so much for joining us live from New Jersey, Rotimi Kade, a Rise News correspondent.